Hello and welcome back to Whispers from the Soul. Another week, and we have another NDE. But today, of course, as usual, each NDE has their own version or their own perception of what they saw, of what they felt, of how they lived it, and of course of how they explain it. So today we're going to go to Wisconsin in United States, and we're going to talk to Jason Jonas. Hello, Jason.
Hey, how are you?
Nice to see you.
Thanks
Nice.
for having me.
It's great. Right, so let's start before this happened in 2020, did you say, the ND?
Yeah, it happened on April 2nd of 2020, as a matter
April
of fact.
2nd.
Yeah.
Okay. And
So
so explain a little bit what happened, how you got to that moment at the dying process. I mean, what happened to
sure.
you? And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
a little bit
yeah.
about the actual experience itself and then how it's changed you or
Sure,
how
sure, sure. So it was, well, the beginning of the new year of 2020, and I was starting a new job. And then you start hearing the news and then about this virus going around, and we had a big meeting at work. And hey, this thing is COVID, it's this, I guess it's, and I was like, I'm going to be 49 soon. And that's just like, nothing's going to hit me. I'm fine, whatever. I've been through much worse. So the last couple of weeks of March, I'd been waking up with blood in my mouth, like I bit my tongue or cheek or something. And I'm like, no, there's nothing sore, but I've had, the taste of blood.
yeah.
I went to work on April 2nd, very fatigued. I was very, very fatigued that day. Like no matter what I did, try to catch my breath, sit down, relax, rest. It wasn't happening. And I got home, took a nice shower, made myself a very simple meal, an egg sandwich, sat down on the couch, started watching TV, took a bite of my sandwich, okay. And then I was getting ready to take another bite. And then, you know what a verb is, right? I kind of threw up in my mouth, I was like, what was that? It was just horrific. And I'm like, and then I went to take another bite and I coughed up blood. I mean, bright red blood, pink almost.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I'm not talking a little, I'm talking, it covered my plate, covered my sandwich, right? And all of a sudden, cough again, more blood. I mean, just like something dumping out of, and I'm like, what is going on? And now it's nonstop coughing. And I'm holding up this plate. Now my whole plate is covered in blood. My sandwich is covered in blood. I'm trying to walk across the living room here. Now I'm out of breath. I can't breathe. It's serious wheezing, and I'm and I'm coughing and coughing. Now I'm starting to panic. Now I know full well what is happening. I'm dying.
Drowning, right? You're drowning.
I'm drowning.
Right.
I'm basically drowning. I can't breathe. And more blood is coming up, and I'm not throwing it up. I'm coughing it up out of my lungs. Okay. So I get to the sink and I threw the plate in one side and I'm coughing and I'm like, I grab my phone and I'm trying to FaceTime my ex-wife. She's a nurse.
Right.
And we haven't spoken in a while. I'm like, oh my God, please answer, and finally she answers the phone and I'm like, she's looking at me and she goes, what do you want? And I'm like, I'm trying to talk to her, right? I try to talk to her and blood just coughed up all over the phone. And I just remember her sitting up and saying, Jason. And I coughed again. And I was like, I don't feel well. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to go lay down. And she says, Jason, listen to me, Jason. And I'm like, I'm tired. I put my head down and I'm coughing constantly, coughing up blood. And I look up and I cough again. Blood's just everywhere. And I said, I'm tired. And her last thing that I ever heard her say is, Jason, if you lay down, you're going to die.
Oh.
Right. And I'm like, I'm going to, and then the phone went dead. And I'm like, wow. In my head, why couldn't our marriage be like this? Conversations that quick. Wow. Right. And that's all I remember.
Right.
Now my next moment that I remember was when I came home, it was light. Now it's dark. And now I'm in the hospital. Myriads of doctors around me. I have a tube in my mouth. My hands and feet were strapped to the bed. I mean, I couldn't move it more than 1/8 of an inch up. Right. IV in the side of my neck, right in that artery right there. stuff in my nose, doctors all around. And I'm like, I can't talk. I'm in an incredible amount of pain, mind-altering pain. I was like, trying to assemble any kind of what just happened, and even though these doctors, do you know who you are? Up in the left-hand corner was a TV. I was in a big room. So like right before me, there's maybe 5 feet in front of me, there was a wall, a clock right there. The door, I was no more than 5 feet in from the door and had a big section over there. But when I opened my eyes, I turned my head to the left. Somebody was there by that TV. I couldn't see him, but I could feel him. For all the love and money in the world, somebody was standing there. And I just felt this presence, a calming presence. And like, and then I break out of that. And Jason, do you know who do you know how you are? Where are you? And how can I answer? I got a tube in my mouth, and I'm like, and I didn't care. I wanted them to move. I just wanted the TV. And I said, and I was itching all over. I just itched every part of me. When you have an itch and you got to scratch it?
Yeah.
I can't move my hands.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, give me something to write with. So I'm scribbling something, hands. It's like, you promise us you're not going to take the tube out of your mouth? And they're all huddling over me. And I'm just like, I scratch my legs. I'm scratching my face. And I'm like, you itch? So I'm like just scratching all over, and I'm looking at the TV. Now, how long I was gone or out, I don't know at that specific point in time. But as the time presented itself, I was in the ICU for a month, right? I was just staring at the TV. I wanted the TV, right? One of the nurses came in one day and said, Jason, do you want us to turn the TV on? And I'm like, No. I was like, how do you tell somebody? And I still have the tube on. How do you tell somebody that there's somebody there, right? And I'm like, no. And it never left. It never faltered. It never wavered. It was just there. This presence was there, right? So now they found out that I didn't have COVID because I was in the infectious disease ward, the ICU. Well, actually, the ICU was full, but I was on the infectious disease ward, which was a couple floors up, right? Because they thought I had COVID. So they're like, they stuck the thing down the tube into my lung. And like, he doesn't have it, right? And so we said, we got to get him out of here, or he's going to die in his state. So they ushered me out of there, up further, somewhere in the hospital. I don't know where. But they ended up taking the tube out of my, taking me off the ventilator and all of this stuff and catheter. And in that month, I lost 75 pounds. Wow. I mean, I couldn't lift my hands up. I couldn't move my head very much. I was completely lethargic, right? Nothing. I could not move. And now nobody was in the room. It was a bright, I would say spring day, maybe late, like 2-3 in the afternoon, beautiful day, right? And I can see this tall tree. I couldn't see the grass, but I could see the start of the blue sky and some clouds that had come by. It was just a beautiful day, and I'm staring at the TV again, and then fear hit, dying, I felt like I was dying, something was going on. I knew it. And prior to this, I grew up a Catholic. My parents, not so much, but my grandparents, and it's very close to my paternal grandparents on my father's side. And they're the ones that gave me the religion. I don't even know if my parents were religious or not. So, I grew up Catholic. I got baptized, all of that crap, believed in that, went to Catholic school 5th and 6th grade. So I had the Bible forced down my throat, front to cover, back to cover, whatever you name it, enacting plays, Christianity. I was an altar boy, had that shoved down my throat. So I firmly believed in heaven and hell. I believed in God. I believed in the devil. I believed what the church was telling me. I believed what this school was telling me. So I knew I was doomed. I had bisexual experiences as a younger kid, and I'm like, well, that's great. Okay, well, now I'm really screwed. So,
You're
and
definitely going
now,
to hell.
right, so you're an abomination to your father. You masturbate, you have sex. You're cussing and drinking and smoking and this and that. And now. And this was the first time when I was around 8 years old when my grandmother woke me up to go to church and said, "Come on, hon, it's time." And I kicked her, and I remember her jumping back, and I sat up, doing a crunch, and I said, "Don't you ever wake me up." I was abused as a child, from my parents. They were alcoholics, and my mother especially, beaten severely. I just knew God didn't. I figured God didn't care. Clearly you don't love me anymore. That's fine. Okay. So when I did that, I was like, I'll take care of myself. Don't, no thanks. Don't ever wake me up for that garbage again. This is the last time I ever had a conversation with God. Did I stop believing? No. But did I have a relationship with God? No. Right. But now, you're coming to the point of you're dying. So now it's, what are you going to do? I begged for my life.
Yeah.
I begged for my life. I had, with all the muster I could, I got up on my elbows and I was shaking uncontrollably and I began to sob. I have not cried that hard probably since I was a little boy. Unconditional sobbing. Please. And I'm talking to this TV. I'm talking to the TV. It's like, please, God, please don't let me die. Please. I am sorry for abandoning you. I am sorry for not having a relationship with you. And I said, Jesus, the same. I love you. I am truly sorry for what I have done. Please don't take my children from me. Let me see my daughters again, please. And then there was somebody here that I loved very much. It's a twin flame. I didn't find that out until later, but regardless, and I called her by her name. I said, please don't take her from me. Please let me hold her hand, smell her breath, make love to her. And in that moment, there was no pop. There was no, well, this and this. I was out of my body. I saw 365 degrees around me, 300, whatever it is, instantly. I could see everybody in the rooms dying. I could see the nurses' stations. I could see everything. And I'm looking at this TV and I'm in this love and this light that was just no words to describe. And I'm looking down on my body, which I'm like, I had no love of that thing.
You're in a bad state. I don't want to go back to that.
No, I was like, no. And I knew who that was instantly. I could see out in the field. Like I said, now I was up higher in the in the hospital now, and I could see through the wall. I could see every blade of grass in this field, which, mind you, was big. Okay, I could see every blade of grass perfectly. I could see the veins. I could see the serrations in every blade of grass. I could see the colors moving through it, and I could see the tree soul. So it looked like, if you ever watch Star Wars, every blade of grass looked like Obi-Wan Kenobi. At the end, it had the blue and the white halo around it. That's our soul. Our souls do not inhabit this body. We kind of fit into it like a bubble, and it wraps itself around us. There's only one soul, by the way. But anyway, and I'm young again. There's no pain. I was like, ugh. And I'm like, I'm home. And I'm like, I knew where I was. And I knew who was holding me. I knew when I merged into that light, I was one with everything. I was everything that had ever existed and will ever exist in a trillionth of a second. The next thought that popped into my mind, because there's no speaking, because you have no mouth, the mouth is laying on the bed. I was like, oh, what a beautiful day to die. Like, okay, round number 4,000, and I was like, and I'm like, just enjoying this love of being home. But I also knew I wasn't meant to be there. I'm like, because it was more of I'm home. Like, okay, I know it's home, but I shouldn't be here right now, kind of thing. It was so bizarre. It was so weird to know everything.
Yeah.
I didn't care about my children. I didn't care about anything. I was just asking for nothing. Everything that was taking place in the world up to that point everybody and everything that was happening was according to plan. It was going as is, right? So I was like, I didn't care about my children. I was like, they were okay. They're perfect. Everything's perfect. I love you. I mean, the love is just something I wish you could all understand how profound your Father loves you. If you knew the love that I exist in every day, there would be no wars. You would not look down on another person. You would not even give them the evil eye or look at them weird. It is a profound love. It is a love that you are that love. And you've just all forgotten who you are. So in that moment of my transition home, I knew exactly who I was, right? And now, did I actually physically see? No. Your father will never take on the appearance of anything other than what you see of him as a light, right? Because the human mind or the human brain will attach. So, well, God's a human. Look, he showed to me as an old man, and no, you know who you are in the presence of, without question. Okay, and I knew it was God. So this other presence showed up, and more love came my way. I mean, it was like stifling in a way. It was like, it was so much love. And that being, as Yeshua Bar Yosef, Jesus. And the love he gave to me was beyond anything. It was phenomenal. I did not want to come back. And next thing I know, and again, I don't know how long this took. It could have been 5 hours, it could have been 5 minutes, 5 seconds. I don't know. Could have been 12 days for all I know, right? Then I feel these two hands on my soul, right? And then all of a sudden I'm being put, and then I'm reattaching to the body, and then being laid back down on the bed, and then all lights went out. Like I was put to sleep. And I'm like, I woke up, and again, doctors and nurses frantically, and like, we were trying to wake you up, and I'm like, and I looked at, and the presence was gone, and I'm like, the hell just happened to me? Because I had no idea, none. I believed in heaven and hell, and where I went is not where I was supposed to go. Okay, so I'm like, but I'm looking at them, they're gonna, they're gonna think I'm nuts. Yeah. They'll lock me up if I tell them what just happened to me, right? And so I kept my mouth shut, and like, oh, well, here's your medicine. I was like, I'm not, no medicine. I want to go home, and I shouldn't have gone home because I couldn't take care of myself. But then I ended up discharging myself from the hospital, and I mean, I had a very hard time of it when I came home. Remember, I couldn't walk.
What is it exactly that you have? Because you didn't have the virus.
They diagnosed me with, I died from acute respiratory failure, hypoxia.
But so why?
What had happened is they found when they were doing, they found tumors that had ruptured in my lungs. They had grown rapidly and then burst. Right. Okay. So they didn't stop, right? They just kept filling my lungs up. They said, do you know how much blood we pumped out of you? And I'm like, she goes, you said you can't go home because you're still bleeding, right? They pumped out 2.8 liters of blood.
God.
That's the equivalent of 11.88 cups of blood.
Wow.
So both my lungs were filled with blood to the top. That's why, the coughing started, because the body's saying, okay, we're dying. You need to get rid of this. Yeah. And it wasn't fast enough. So it goes back to the point, if I had not called my ex-wife, had she not hung up on me, she's the one that called 911. I made no other phone calls.
Right.
He called 911. They got in here somehow, and so that just goes to show that if I wouldn't have found my ex-wife 12 years, 13 years prior to that, I'd be dead, right? So you see how everything is interconnected, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, you shouldn't be here. Do you understand that? And they're like, so they performed surgery 2 weeks after I got out. And I came back, and I went through hell after that. Eviction notices, my car got repossessed. I had no one to take care of me. I couldn't eat, I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk. I was basically a 50-year-old invalid that had to start all over again. Now I'm being evicted. Now, I'm selling furniture and stuff because nobody would hire me at that point in time because of COVID. Everybody was just lividly afraid.
Everything came to a stop.
Everything just stopped, but nobody cared that no money was coming in for me, right? So it was a brutal fight. I mean, I just went through a brutal time after that. And on top of trying to repair my body to, figure out what had happened. I needed to know what happened to me. I had no idea of what a near-death experience was. So I just went to, Google search, and I typed in, dying respirator out of, at the ceiling, and all of a sudden this term NDE popped up. So I went to YouTube and typed in, NDE, and all this stuff popped up. And I'm like, so I start listening to him, and I'm sobbing like, oh my God, somebody had this experience, right? And I'm like, oh, I couldn't get enough of it. And within the 5 years, I just did research, but then I've had other profound spiritual experiences like 2 years after. So it's now 2022. I'm in a massively deep depression, right? So let's back up about 6 months. It's now June, and I'm struggling hard. And I was yelling at God that day because I'm still feeling all of this love, right? I wasn't just abandoned. I'm feeling this love, but I was like, you can't do this to people. And I got my shouting at him. I was like, you can't do this to people. I mean, right? And I said, you picked the wrong person, right?
Yeah.
Right. You picked the wrong person. I said, you should have picked the Pope or Bishop or somebody. I said, clearly you're messed up. You've got the wrong person, right? And I'm pacing back and forth, and I said it again. I was in my bedroom, and I said, you picked the wrong person. And that's the first time I had ever heard my father speak to me with words. And he was a little perturbed, not much, but there was a little to his tone, but it came through with love, compassion, but a come on, pal, let's go kind of thing. And when he spoke to me, he said, why not? You are my son. So at that moment, I collapsed to the floor. And how I came up with this saying, I have no idea. Never heard of it before, never said it before. But I simply put my hands up, and on my knees, I said, for all that I am you. And that was my acknowledgement of, I am God. I know who I am. There is no coming back. And then I had a profound experience 2 years later. I'm still depressed, saying, now I'm acting like a 2-year-old, right? It's like, how come I couldn't go through the tunnel? So I had woken up from my bed, walked down this hallway to come down here, and it's like 7 a.m. It's like, why couldn't I go through the tunnel? Why'd you leave me in the hospital room? I hear all these tunnel stories. Why couldn't I come home that way, right? And I'm, you're like, you've had this profound experience, and now you're just complaining about it, right? Well, hey, this is the dark side of the NDE.
Yeah.
And so I come back, I lay down on this couch, and no sooner did my head hit the pillow, I was gone. I was in complete and utter blackness. My apartment was gone, and now I'm in this void, but I'm traveling through this tunnel at immense speed. Immense. And when I mean void, there was nothing but blackness everywhere, because you can see everything. So but in way off in the distance, I can't even begin to tell you how far away, was this little sliver of, now I can see it as a line, right? And I'm like, how the hell can I see like that? And all of a sudden I'm like, you heard me. I'm going home. Right. And I'm like, oh, I'm filled with all this love again. And then this grayish light started spinning through it. Now, I didn't see any other souls or anything, but I'm just traveling through this tunnel. And I'm like, oh, now the light is getting bigger right now. Now it's but again, how long I was gone, I have no idea. I'm just traveling at immense speed, feeling the love of home. And now all I see is this beautiful white light. There's nothing around but immense, beautiful, goldish white light, the purest, most innocent, loving light you have ever seen. And I'm like, I'm going home, right? And I mean, I got up so close to it. It was a nose hair away. And then boom, I was back in my body. And I'm like, but this time,
No.
right? I was like, no, but I was like, no, but at the same time, he's like, oh, he heard me. He's listening to me. And it's like, Jason, he's always listening to you, And I'm like, you're not Jason, And I'm having this identity struggle because I know I wasn't Jason. I've never been Jason, nor will I ever be Jason. This thing is named Jason, this body, but right. And then I had that profound experience, and then I'm at work like a few months later, no, about a year later. And I was just telling this to somebody, well, the QHHT session. So I'm at work, 5 o'clock in the morning, nobody's there, right? Nobody's there. And I'm walking through and this big building, and I shut a door, and then, I'm looking off that way is the maintenance room, and lights are on, and I start walking, and all of a sudden I turn around, somebody's standing there, like, whoa. And I'm like, wait a minute, how did you get there? No sound. And he's like, well, and I'm kind of dirty, and I was going into the bathroom because I was a maintenance janitorial, so I was having to clean it. So I was just going in there. Next thing you know, I'm in a full-blown replaying my NDE, right? And he was a beautiful person, a beautiful man, right? He had beautiful, thick, square jaw, and he had a beautiful, very neatly trimmed dark brown beard, very short hair, maybe 1/8 of an inch, just perfectly trimmed, but ratty work clothes, right? And he's listening to me, and he's just staring straight up at the ceiling, right? And he looks at me with love, and then he moves this way, and then again, just up on the ceiling, and he's just smiling, just like your grin that you have, just smiling. Then he puts his head down, and I'm talking, and I'm feeling this feeling like, I can't place this. It's like you're trying to remember something very well, right? But you just can't place it. It's that kind of feeling, right? So he looks at me with this love and this smile on his face, and he reaches out. He goes, Jason, it was a pleasure meeting you. And I'm like, your name is Jason, right? And I'm like, whoa. Not only how did you get in here, but how do you know my name, right? And he started to walk out, and he turned around. He goes, Jason, you'll hear from me again soon. He walked out. Now, when he shook my hand, it was cold. Like when you touch a dead body, there's no, so it was kind of that clamminess kind to it. But I mean, it wasn't like cold like that, but it was, you could tell that, and he walked out these double set of doors, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's your name? I go there. I open up the other door. It's like, all these doors are locked. Where did you go? Okay. All right. Whoa. Now I'm tired. I went upstairs, found a couch, fell asleep for like 2.5, 3 hours on the job. Like, okay. Nobody found me. Started working. I'm like, what was that? Right? So now, about a year later, I'm coming out of a sushi place with a girlfriend. I'm like, let's try this dating thing. Well, that was a big mistake. That was just a big mistake. That was just a big mistake. That did not work out. But anyways, we come out, and I see this bum sitting by the back seat of my Jeep on this curb. He's got a blue suitcase or a duffel bag, a cane, wearing really, like 70s clothes, like just old shoes, but the appearance of a bum. Now, he looked exactly the same as the person in the bathroom, except this time he had not bright red hair, but a medium red hair, right? Same hairstyle, same beard, except now it's red, different clothes. And now I'm feeling that instantly, like, and he goes, hi, to me, right? Not even paying attention to her. How are you? My name, this time he said so-and-so. And he goes, you love video games, don't you? And I'm like, how the hell do you know that? Yeah. So we started talking about something, and then he goes, "Oh, I'm in here." Now he looked at her, the woman that I was dating. He said, "Oh, I'm here to get into a condom walk, and that's where we were going to move to." And we both looked at each other like, he goes, "I'm here to help a girl get a divorce." And he's looking straight at her, and she's like, she needs to get things rolling, and I'm here to help. And she freaked her out. I mean, she went instant white. Like, she goes, "Can I?" Right. So she went and locked herself in the vehicle. And I'm having this,
Scared to death.
terrified, because he knew everything about her.
Yeah.
She could feel it too. I could see it in her eyes. Right.
Yeah.
So I turned around and he started talking, and about the people he knows in positions, and he began to speak about money, right? But then he looked at me and he goes, "It's really all about the love." And he gave me a fist bump, and I'm like, "It's about love." And finally I said, "Yes, it is all about love." And we gave a fist bump, and his, again, clammy, cold hands. And I said, "Yes." I said, a couple years ago now, 3 years ago, I said, I had a near-death experience. And he turned his head, and no more smile. He just turned his head sideways. He goes, "I know you did." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "All right." Right. So I'm like, that took me back. That was like the gut punch. And I turned around to see if she's okay. Right. And I'm looking, and I turn around. He's standing right in front of me. And I'm like, "Whoa. No, you hear somebody get up or rustle a little, right? There's no sound to him, right?" And he goes, "You're Jason, right? Your name is Jason." I'm like, "Oh, all right, all right." You're just taken aback by this, right? And I said, he goes, "I'm an alcoholic. I lost everything." And I said, "Alcoholic?" He goes, "You're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Financially? Oh yeah." I said, "What else is new? I've been poverty stricken my whole life." I said, "Am I poverty? No, but am I living paycheck to paycheck and not having any money?" Right? Yeah. I said, "But what else is new?" And he says, I'm an alcoholic, and I drank. I lost 110,000 last month." I said, "You drank $110,000 worth of booze, alcohol?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You don't stink. You're dressing like a bum, but you have no smell, no scent, no nothing." Right. And by this time I'm very tired. I'm like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, he goes, "You know where I can get a drink?" And, I was like, "Right there. I mean, I just came out of a restaurant. There's booze.
Yeah.
There's, he's, "Where can I get it?" I said, "Right, man, right there, right there." He goes, "Would you walk with me?" And I said, "Sure." He goes, "Would you be okay with that?" And I said, "Okay." Okay with what? And I'm like, I said, "Do you want me to help? I'll carry your bag." And, he was walking weirdly, but for some reason in my head, he didn't need the cane, right?
Yeah.
This. So we're walking. I said, "Okay with what?" He goes, 110. I said, "Having that a year? Making that a year?" Yeah. He goes, "No, a month. I make 110,000 a month." And I said, "Well, of course." He goes, "Okay, good." And, and he's walking in front of me, because I'm desperately trying to connect something, like, and he goes, looked over his shoulder, "Would you be willing to relocate?" And I'm like, "Relocate? Sure, where?" And he goes, "Sacramento?" I'm like, "California? Oh." I said, "Of all 50 states, you got to stick me there," in my head. But I said, "For 110,000 a month? Yeah, sure. Warm weather, I can, sure. And he goes, "Great." And now he let me catch up to him. And then, I walked him into this place, and we talked for a little bit, which was a restaurant. He wanted it at the bar, so I took him to the bar. And he goes, Jason, you'll hear from me soon. I've heard that before. And I gave him, I said, it was nice meeting you. I gave him a tap on, And then I turned around to walk out the door. I'm like, no, let me turn around. Nothing there. Just the people that I walked into the restaurant with. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then I ran up to the Jeep. And she's like, what was that? What was that? And I'm like, putting two and two together, that face. And I said, as we're driving, I said, oh my God, that was Archangel Michael. Right? I mean, if you look at pictures of Archangel Michael, it looked like that. And, that's what I said at the time. What I really think it is, because of the experiences that I was having after that, even, I think they were ascended masters putting me into a test, to do these things, because I'm growing so rapidly spiritually that, time is collapsing in on itself with me.
Yeah. And the job, did it come?
Right. That has not happened yet, because what you have to understand is, this species as a human, we expect things now.
Yeah.
Right. We expect instant. You can get on your phone. I just ordered something. It'll be here tomorrow. We're expecting instantaneous. That's not how the divine works. That's not how home works. Right. It comes when you need it, not a minute before or after. So people say, well, you are hallucinating. No, it's just not my time yet. It's coming. And things are starting to unfold, because I'll tell you, I'll just finish the story, right? So my lease came up, and it's like too much money now. It's like, so I'm not going to sign the lease, right? I'm quitting the job because my coworker is leaving and I don't get along. So everything is now collapsing in on itself, right? Now is the time and I felt it. I said, so now's the time that you're going to get me out west, right? Because everything's collapsing here and I can see it, right? And I told them long ago, I said, I don't want to leave my youngest. Well, she's 18 going off to college. Everything now is just, so this is the time, and I've been feeling it, that the move is going to take place. Now, is it going to take place at my convenience? No, it's when they're ready for it, that it's right. So I have, through my awakening that I'm going through, as I've learned to completely just let go of everything.
Love.
And trust without. So you're not even looking for jobs? No. You're not even trying to find no. Doesn't scare me. No, because it's happening the way I created my life to, and I just have to surrender to the fact that I already have everything I need. So I went through those experiences. Now you remember, do you watch football any chance, by American football? You watch it at all? Do you remember the thing about DeVar Hamlin when he died on the football field?
Yeah, I saw that.
He had the heart attack, right?
Right.
I was watching that game, and I was sitting in this exact same spot. And it was nighttime, and I'm watching the game, and all of a sudden I see him take that hit. Or he made that hit, right? He got up and adjusted his face mask, took one step, and then fell down dead.
That's right.
I did the exact same thing, except I laid back and put my head down on the back of this couch, and all of a sudden I was gone.
Yeah.
Like, gone. Next thing you know, I'm in another world. I'm walking on this beach. Looked like Star Wars. There was a sun here, and they were overlapping each other, right? There was a light being walking towards me, and I could hear the ocean rolling in. And I'm just fascinated with this place that I'm in. But again, it was the sense of, I've been here before, right? There was no panic. It was a homey feeling, a place that I've been before, right? And I'm here in the ocean. It was warm. I feel these suns on me. And now there's a presence next to me, a presence that I can feel. And I'm like, who are you, right? I never looked, because I'm watching at this being coming at me, this light being coming at me, and it's getting closer. And I'm like, who are you? And he says, I'm Jeffrey. I've always been with you, meaning from the time I was created, my guardian. And I said, Jeffrey. And I started laughing. I said, Jeffrey, that's the Toys R Us giraffe. I said, I can't call you Jeffrey, man. I said, how about John, right?
That's a Toys R Us John. You made my guardian a Toys R Us giraffe.
Right. And I'm like, I said, I can't do that. But I still do. And then I turn around and say, Jeffrey, how many times have I died? How many times have I been here? He goes, and the number was instant. I mean, it was instantly given to me. before I could even get it all out, it was like over 3,200 times. I said, I've died over 3,200 times. He goes, yes, you're ancient. And then I was pulled back into my body. Now I was like, what the hell? Now I'm looking at the TV. The whole stadium is black, dark, all just a couple lights on, right? Everything, just a couple announcers. So that must tell you that I was gone for quite some time.
Yeah.
That I was in this other realm and dimension and other planet, basically. And I'm like, what the hell does ancient mean? I mean, I know we're old. I mean, we're building, but ancient, that's a completely different label to put on somebody, right? So I was like, wow, what is this? You know, and I'm like, ancient. Then I'm on that kick. And now I'm in a sharing group, right? And I'm sitting there with somebody. And he said, Jason, you want to talk? So I told him this new experience that I had. And I said, and he's like, wow, that's pretty profound. And I said, yeah. And he said, I said, my guardian, Jeffrey, called me ancient. And his hand went up. And I'm like, and I was talking to him. I said, what the hell does ancient mean? I said, and this guy that was in the room, he said, my name's David. I've been doing, I've done over 15,000 near-death researchers. I've interviewed them, and I've been doing this for the last 25 years. And he says, I would love to answer that question. And I said, please, and he said, you were called ancient because he said, you're a chosen one, meaning your father is choosing you to come. He said, you've been walking this earth for 30,000 years, helping people, right? And wow, when that hit me, I was like, wow. He said, so you're chosen to have a difficult life. You're chosen to go through these things that most people would cringe at. And you're a service to this species. And he said, your father knows, or God knows, that you will get it done, right? So he said, that's an immense privilege, and that's why you have died so many times. And we don't start out here in our lives on Earth. It's just too damn hard. Like the first couple hundred, maybe some even 500, you're off in another realm, another dimension, another world where you still feel home. Right? Yeah. You're going through the process of being in an incarnation, but there's no separation from God and home. So when we come here, it's a completely different wrap.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. I've heard that from other ND experiencers that this is one of the most difficult places to be.
Yes, absolutely. And he said, so the fact that most of your lives have been here, he said, is profound. And he said, that's why you were called ancient. You have, so what you would call success is going to come much later in your life, in your 50s and 60s, when, other people have had their home paid off from I don't have anything. I have no money in savings. I have no home. I'm, barely getting by. And so what you would call success, human success, will come much later, where your money, your wealth, your having security, right? But he said, with that comes, that it's not real. That you're just playing the game. Right. I said, yes. And I said, it's ironic that I have, when that money comes, that I don't care. Yeah, it's there. I can put everything on auto pay and I'll get paid. I can go to the store. I don't have to figure out how I'm going to get food this week, how I'm going to get these, I got to be out of here in 3 weeks. I have no idea where I'm going. I'm going to lose my job soon. Does it look like any way, shape, or form that I'm concerned about that? No, I don't care. And when you come to that point of complete and total knowledge, of knowing, then it just becomes life. You're going with the flow. Instead of trying to swim up the river, you've turned around, right? You're laying on your back.
You're flowing.
You're just letting it go, just letting it flow. And that comes with an enormous amount of peace.
Yeah.
When you stop the fight, when you stop trying to go against the haves, against the have-nots, and to listen when I stopped watching TV and the news. I didn't even know that we were conducting airstrikes or that what's going on, right? It's so liberating to live without fear.
Yeah.
You know, to be that way. And I got one more story to tell you. This was a year and a half ago. About a year ago. 2024? Yeah. It was Easter. And now that I'm not religious, you know, I'm deeply spiritual. I know what I am. I was like, no, I do want a good meal. So it was the day before Easter. And I said, let's go to the grocery store. Let's pick up something to eat. Nice meal. So I get to the grocery store and I'm watching everybody around me. Oh, it's Easter. Oh, God did this and he did this. Like, you know, I'm like, Jason, be nice. They're not there yet. It's okay. It's okay.
Bite your tongue.
Bite my tongue, right? So I'm walking in and I'm instantly drawn to this mom who had like a 3 or 4-year-old in the cart crying, fussing. But there was something about them. I just remember looking deeply into them. Like, it was odd. Now, most people would have walked right by, but like, what are you doing here? Kind of thing, right? Like, no, look at the time. 11:11. I hear you. We're on the same page. I got you. I mean, come on. There's no coincidences. 11:11. That's a powerful number.
It is.
Wow. Look, is it? It is 11:11. Wow. So I walk in. You know, I'm getting my meal, and I go into I needed olive oil because now I'm eating much healthier. Right, a lot of salads. Believe it or not, a lot of bread. I have a desire for bread. It's bizarre. I eat a lot of bread. Sometimes just plain. I'll slap a little butter on it. Remember, Jesus, his favorite meal was bread. He loved bread. Ate bread all the time. So I got all my stuff, and now I can't find my olive oil. Now I walk in, and I'm about 10, 15 feet in, right? Now as I'm walking by, there's that mom with the little kid in the grocery cart. Right there. Now, what are the chances of that taking place? Slim to none. Okay. So now I'm in the football stance like this. I'm here getting olive oil all the time. What? And they're sitting there. She's kind of fussing again, right? And now I'm sitting here like this. Like, where is it? And all of a sudden, in peripheral vision I catch something black like this. Turn around. I'm like, how did you come from? Now, he walked right through the grocery aisle.
Right.
Right? And I'm like, now the mom and the kid are just like this. Statues, no movement, just complete
Staring.
Nobody's walking. And I'm like, and I'm thinking, and he said, can I interest you in a Bible study? Oh. And I'm like, he's young, got a real long, scraggly, real young, you know, leather jacket on, young kid. I said, no, young man, I'm good. No, thanks. Now they're just stuck in, like, pause the video game, right? And he says, well, you sure I can't interest you in I said, young man, I said, no. I said, no. The Bible is a pile of garbage. It has nothing to do with any of this. And I'm like, no. No. So he proceeds to walk this way in front of me, right? So as he's walking, they're gone. The mom in the grocery cart, they're no longer there. All right, you're going to hear a grocery cart move. They're gone. Now he's on this side, and he says, well, what about the second coming of Christ? I said, I told you, young man, the Bible is wrong. God doesn't care about religion. God doesn't care about any of that. I said, the Bible is wrong. I said, the second coming of Christ is not going to be like what you think it is. There's nobody going to be. I said, no, I'm not. No. And he said, he shook my hand again, that cold feeling. And I'm like, right? Nobody's walking by. Right? So he shook his hand. I shook his hand. I said, you have a great day, right? And he turns around to take off. I get in my stance like this. I'm like, no, really? I turn over. Yeah, there's nobody there. And then all of a sudden I see people start coming down the house. Like, okay, I got you. I said, I'm not changing my stance. Got it? Okay, that's never going to happen. So you can send all you want, but that young one was Jeffrey, because
Right,
he didn't look like the other two.
right,
That was Jeffrey. That presence I had felt. Well, clearly both of them, but I think they were not only the guides, but I think they were ascended masters.
right.
Right, and that was them confirming or making sure that I was going against the church, like teaching people the truth of who they are and to not conform to what society standards want of us, right? And I'm like, no, 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 no. And that's the reason why I left Christianity or organized religion after my death, because we've been all taught wrong from day one. We were taught wrong. And that's why we're in the predicament that we are. That's why Jesus was sent 2 millennia ago. He simply came here to wake us up. Wake up, realize who you are. Look, you're no different than I am. Okay, none. Wake up from the dream. Wake up. This reality isn't real. Your mind is split. You're living in duality. Consciousness is duality. Your mind split when you decided. So quite literally, every single one of us on this planet are literally insane, incapable of making rational decisions. Why? Because we're living out of what the world sees every day. Fear, the ego, right? So that's why you're seeing what you're seeing in the world right now, especially all the wars in the Middle East, and death on a massive scale, because we're scared. We feel like we have abandoned Father, right? We thoroughly believe we abandoned Father, and that is not the case. Every single one of us is still at home, safe, secure, having a delusional dream. And I'm here to wake you all up and let you all know that you're just having a mind snap, a mental break right now. You need to realize who you are, that there is only one, that you are all the same. We are all the same. Jesus said it 2 millennia ago. I said it when I said it just differently. I and the Father are one. He means we are all of the same mind. There is only one, period. When I said, for all that I am you, I'm telling myself, my higher self, my Father, that I am you. I am God. I will not back down from that statement. I am God. Pure and simple. I return to oneness. How I got there was different from other NDEs, because you have those, their own personal thing. But when you reach that moment, you know who you are.
Yeah.
God.
No, but
right?
It's curious because all the ones I've spoken to anyway, I've spoken to a lot of them, all of them come to that conclusion that of the oneness. That's most important. I think that's the most important thing you take away from having an ND is the oneness, because the oneness takes away all judgment.
Yes.
Once you're part of everything, once you know you're part of everything and everything's part of you, you can't judge because you're judging yourself.
Correct. That's why Jesus said, "Love your neighbor as yourself." Why?
Because it's you.
That is you,
right.
right? That's what he's. See, Jesus, when he was here, he had the great idea. He had free will too, but Jesus was a highly advanced being. I mean, when Father got him, he was from a highly advanced civilization. Okay, you would know it as an alien, all right? But he came and got him because he was a master. So Jesus led by example, which was brilliant, right? Not only was he living in an occupied land from the most atrocious, regime ever, but he grew up in a time where religion had the power to kill. And in fact, that's exactly what happened to him.
Yeah.
Right? But he already knew he was going to be crucified, and he still went through with it, right? So he led by example. He showed you what we are all capable of when you reach that moment of absolute knowing.
That's right.
You're not your body. You've never been your body. You will never be a body. You are a multidimensional being living multiple lives across multiple realities and dimensions right now. You don't understand how powerful you are. So he chose to lead by example. And that's exactly what he did. He did it beautifully. What did we do? We murdered him for it.
We screw it up. We screw it up. We usually do. We
Right.
screwed up. But not only
Right.
that, not only did we screw it up when he was here, but we screwed up even more saying things in his name, saying how he did things and how he didn't do things, and it's all wrong.
Right. And then
Why?
people say,
Power.
well,
Power. It's all to do with
power,
power.
right? And it's like, people say, well, no, he was the Son of God. No. Okay. I say, yeah, absolutely. He was a powerful Son of God. I'm no different. I am Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, that's blasphemy. I was like, no. I was like,
you should be burned at the stake.
right. And I said, what was the whole purpose of the Crusades, the first Crusades? Why were we there? To claim the land from the infidels?
Yeah.
Wrong. What were they there for?
Yeah.
They were rounding up every little bit that had to do with Jesus. Anything. The first Crusades and then the second Crusades. And all of a sudden they wake up and we're all gone. The Crusaders. Why? They just up and left? What? They had everything they needed. And then the church destroyed it all. They're not worried about his bloodline, like in the movie, The Da Vinci Code.
Right.
Who cares about his bloodline? His descendants still walk this earth today. Who cares? What they were hiding is what he was teaching. That was revolutionary.
No, I don't think it's been destroyed. I think they still have it.
Of course they do. It's in the basement of the Vatican, where nobody is allowed to go. And if you do make it down there, you will be shot and killed on sight.
That's right.
What is worth murdering people for? The truth, right? They're hiding their power because they are beyond fearful of what we would find out. But see, there's enough of us NDEers out there that are talking about this, the truth that of who we are, and we are leading by example, by not judging, by not condemning, by forgiving, but we are also teaching all of you who you are, how to get there, how to get to where Jesus was, and that is to meditate, that is to go within, to quiet your not this, that chatterbox up there and realize who you are. You hold absolutely the same powers that Jesus had. He was a master. That's why he was able to do what he did. Now, if you think, well, I can jump off a building and survive, I'm eternal, sure, but you're going to die because you're not there yet, right? God will welcome you home. He says, well, how did that work out for you, right?
That's right.
You're not there yet.
That's right.
So that is the only difference. And that is why I teach what I teach, and I'm still having profound experiences. 2 months ago, I walked into my house being trashed. Like, I'm very particular. I get up 2-3 o'clock in the morning. It's pitch dark. I don't turn on any lights. I make my bed. It's perfect. I can walk around, like I can see it. So I'm walking around it, right? Go in, take a shower in the pitch dark, shave, come out, meditate, right? Everything was made up perfectly, right? No lights left on. So I come home from work. It was a Friday. And I come home, and the first thing I notice, not only were the kitchen lights on, this light was on, but my computer chair was pulled out from my desk and turned facing the patio.
Right.
My couch, my pillows were strewn all over the place. I had a stuffed animal that was knocked down onto the couch. I'm like, yep, my brand new computer's there, my iPad's right here, my 63-inch plasma TV's right there. Nothing's touched, and I get this odd feeling like, so the lights are on. So I walk down the hallway. The second bedroom was completely destroyed. I mean, the mattress covers, the bedding, completely ripped off the mattress. Everything wadded up, thrown on the floor. And I'm like, walk into my bedroom. My bedroom is trashed. The bed's pulled down. Pillows strewn all over the place. But yet I have thousands and thousands of dollars worth of guitars, some of them very worth a lot of money, sitting there untouched. Nothing touched. Nothing of value touched. So I come back out and I'm like,
what happened?
What? But nothing's touched. I was like, maybe I left the door open. No, because you unlocked the deadbolt. I'm like, okay. What do you want? What's coming? What's coming? So that was them letting me know that change is coming, something's coming. And then all of a sudden I started feeling very weird. Like we were just talking about prior to this, it's like all the passion is gone from my life. I have no passion. I love music. I love playing bass. That all went. Playing video games, that, reading the books that I'm reading, that just, there's no, I don't care about money. I don't care about success. I don't care about climbing the corporate ladder. I don't care about the vehicle. I don't care. And then I come to find out that I'm simply going through my awakening now, right? I'm aligning to my higher self, my true purpose. And what I'm experiencing is what somebody else said is, Jason, it's the ego death. And that is why your passion is left, because you have, the ego's dying. And I said, that makes sense. So now I'm stuck in this awakening where all desire, passion, love, even to do my own interviews and to do my own channel, has left. It's like, how do you feel? Blah. And that's the way I feel. And that is, again, it's part of the dark side that comes with, the NDE. In 2023, I went through my ascension, which was brutal. It was brutal. I lost my job. I lost 65 pounds in a few months. Extreme weight loss, extreme body pain, this, that, and the other, throwing up, dizziness, falling out of the shower. I went 4 days with eating a half a egg salad sandwich, like put a little on a bread, and that's all I ate for 4 days, So I went through this, I woke up in the middle of the night and just completely drenched. When I mean drenched, brother, I was laying in bed and I went to move to the left and I felt standing water, cold water come up. I'm like, no, I'll go to the right. Oh, no, more cold water. And I was just put back to sleep. And what that was your true self, your higher self, was hovering right above your body. And when you have a near-death experience, we talk about the warmth, right? How loving and warm. Well, that was right. We were doing our thing, but it was creating a massive amount of sweat for me. So I went through that process in 2023. Now the awakening. So people want this beautiful experience, but that's like the head of a pin, that experience. And then what happens afterwards isn't fun.
No.
Okay. It's a complete and total death of mind, body, everything here. And like I say, Jason Janis doesn't exist. Who I once thought Jason Janis was is completely and totally superficial. This thing that I'm driving, I have a Jeep Grand Cherokee. Do I call myself a Jeep Grand Cherokee? No.
No.
Right? No. So why do I call myself a male? Why do I call myself a boy? I'm not. I'm neither. I'm everything, both male and female. And I'm going through very much, I don't want to call it, but very strong feminine emotions right now. Right? I feel very womanish these last few days. And it's a bizarre feeling, but you have to remember, God is neither male or female. He is everything. I am everything. So I am coming into.
Well, I think that's quite normal, Jason, because
it is
going through a new rebirth. It's more than likely for you to feel more your feminine side than your masculine side, because you're going through a new process of birth of yourself.
Of myself. And that's the awakening that's taking place right now, is that I'm being, again, aligned with my higher self, and in that comes the everything.
Of course.
So when I say people, you need to realize what you're asking for. You're not ready for it yet.
Right.
So it's brutal. So I'm feeling very feminine. I'm like, I want to be penetrated. Like I want to be. It's just a bizarre feeling to have. But in the same aspect, I love it because it is who I am. It's what I am. And I'm ready for it, and that's why it's coming. So when I say, you don't have that kind of money yet, it's not ready yet. It's coming. So, and with them messing up my house, that's them telling me things are picking up. You're right. Yes, it's coming.
Change is on the way. Change is on the way.
Yes, big changes on the way. So that's, and now with the death of the job, the death of, I'm not going to be living in this place much longer. everything's, I can feel it. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So I know it's there, and I'm just not going to sweat it. As you can tell, you know, I'm
no,
just,
no, no.
not, you know,
It's letting go of the things you have there that attaches you, of the attachment, and then moving on to something else completely.
yes,
So
yes.
that's the way it works.
That's exactly the way it works. And I told him, I said, I surrender. You know, you guys let me know and I'll do it, whatever it is, you know, because I've already planned it. So it's just, but you know, when you see those events take place, like those three people, or
Yeah.
I call them ascended masters, you know, we think as time, when you read, it's linear.
Yeah.
When you speak, it's linear. When you write, it's linear talk, right? So, but it's not. Time is this way, if it all. So when it condenses, like those ascended masters are going into my past and future, they're crushing. I don't need to experience anything more, what you call learn anything more. So all those things they're putting things in my life, future lives, that they'll put it, you know, where I need to forgive, and it wasn't even a thing anymore. So those lives are crashing down, right? And now I've told people, I said, I maybe have one life left, one or two. There's nothing, you know, I just feel it. And somebody said the same thing. He's like, you're pretty much done incarnating. And
I hope. I hope I'm the same. I hope I'm the same, because I don't feel like coming back either.
you know, right?
I don't want to come back. I would just want to live in glory over there and
I,
just live it. I've had enough.
right.
I'm
I,
done with Earth. I'm done with
I,
these avatars. I'm done with the whole thing of this pressure and this. Oh, this. I've had enough. So
right.
when I do
That's the
go,
same as, right. And I'm like, I don't want to come here anymore. I tell Father, let me come home, please. Let me come home, you know. And I know I have things to do. I know what I have to do. I came here to teach, and I will be that teacher. I will be that one. I mean, like I said prior to going live, is like World War III is around the corner. Whether you keep this in or not, that's up to you. But, and I've told people this, you know, a while ago, at least a year ago, that within the next 5 years, World War III is going to come. And if it does come, it's going to be the extinction of this species. There will be roughly 700 million to a billion people left on this earth. That means roughly 7 billion people after the war, which will be 7 years, okay? In the next 30 to 40 years afterwards, 7 billion people are going to die. Okay? That is horrific in my mind.
yeah,
Okay? I cannot allow that to happen.
but
And
that's
you're
happened.
seeing it
That's
right
happened
now.
before, though. It's happened before, not with wars, but it's
Well,
happened
you know,
before with different
yeah.
different things that have gone on in on the earth.
Well, there was an ancient civilization here, you know it, that removed itself. It
Yeah,
had great power, great knowledge, great, you know, technology.
yeah,
And, you know, you know them as Atlanteans.
yeah.
They no longer exist. Why? They were extinct. They couldn't handle, they weren't ready to harness what they had harnessed, right? The technology that came. Well, where are they, right? We will survive, this species will survive, but after that, when the war ends and everybody dies, those beings left will be high vibrational beings, right? Basically all the old is gone. So those children that are born during those times, they're not going to grow up with the world that we grew up in, right? They're not going to grow up with, you know, mass media, religion, right? They're going to know. And then when we're all gone, what are they left with?
Yeah.
Technology.
Yeah.
Right. And they're going to use it with ruthless efficiency, meaning AI. And the reason Trump had to win, not that I'm going to talk about politics, but what's the first law he signed into being?
AI. No, yeah, it was obvious. It was obvious. I knew he was going to win.
That was
I knew it was
right.
going to
But
win.
he had to, for that mere reason, that
Yeah.
he's going to sink all this money into AI, and it's going to advance this species rapidly.
Yeah.
Beyond belief.
Yeah.
Right? Now, we can avoid everybody dying if we would just love one another. We don't have to start this. The war is going to start east, and you're already seeing it with what China's doing. It's going to start a catastrophic events that are going to take place. And once that happens, there is no turning back. You can't have, 40 years worth of food stocked up in an apartment or a little house. It's never going to happen, right? Every major city around the world will be leveled. There will be nothing standing. No more food, no more inhabitable water, very little of it. Basically, 7.5 billion people are going to starve to death.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
If it happens.
If it happens, we can stop it. Everything's within our power.
That's the main message here. We're still in time to stop it, and I truly believe that we can. From the last 10 years, the awakening that's happened, the massive awakening that's happened in the last 10 years, has been phenomenal. And now
we're going into that 5D, right? We're transitioning into the 5D. Not everybody's going to go. They're not all there yet, and that's okay. Meaning, once we've all transitioned, those that are left into 3D, when the world ends, this old version of Earth, right? Yeah. When they all die off from it, right. The old Earth will disappear. We're in a new dimension, a new Earth, right? Those that are still attached to the 3D, Father will pick another planet of 3D, right? And they'll get sent there with no recollection of Earth in any way, shape, or form. So we can save this, but this message has got to go out, not just mine, but all those that are listening to these near-death experiences. You have to understand this, that love is the only answer. There is nothing else. There is nothing else but love. There is no such thing as fear. Fear is a condition of the mind. When you split into consciousness, it doesn't exist. The ego doesn't exist. Only thing that exists is love. We need to love one another, forgive them, because nothing has really happened to you. It's a dream. It's the Matrix, right? It's all your perception. Yes. I come from knowledge. You are coming from perception. What you are putting out into the world, you're perceiving it as real, that this happened to you. It didn't. That's the illusion. So when I say, everybody, if you listen to this, love one another. But that love comes from yourself first. You must love yourself unconditionally. If you don't love yourself, and you have to do a hard look into yourself, and most of you do not. 90% of this world does not love itself. So how can you love your children? How can you love your parents? And that is why the state of the world is in it that it's in. You don't love. You don't know what love is. Love one another as yourself, because everyone out there is you. There is only one, guys. God is. There is nothing else. So when I say I am God, I am God. But so are you.
Exactly is what Jesus said. Exactly.
Right.
I am God as you are. So you are, I am, everyone is. Everyone's part of it. We're not. And that's the probably the most harmful thing that religion's done, saying that God is separate from us. That separation.
There can't be a democracy in heaven. Oh no! How could there be a democracy in heaven, right? So when what the church said, what they essentially did is they said, okay. Now when I say the church, I'm talking the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church, ladies and gentlemen, they wrote the Bible. And if you don't believe that, do the research. But I can get into it in a minute. But the church said, okay. He was the only Son of God. And for that, he's going to get pushed up on a pedestal, up by the boss, and untouchable. You are not allowed. But we're supposed to live like his example. How? We don't even know who we are, let alone follow what he did. So how are we supposed to do that? So Christianity, therefore, becomes a impossible religion. It is impossible to follow the ways of Christ when you don't even know who you are. Okay? So it's impossible. So how can you introduce democracy into heaven? That's blasphemy then, because you're taking away all his power. No, you are the Christ. You are everything. So that is my religion divides people. Okay. And it's done on purpose. It's meant to keep you in a low vibrational state, keep you fighting, keep you hating, all lower level energy, right? So when I talk about love in spirituality, it brings unity to all. I love you. You love me. What are we all searching for? love. You all want peace. You all want it quiet. You all want the pain to stop just for 5 minutes, to love unconditionally. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can do that. We can save the world right now, right now. Well, Jesus, even as powerful as Jesus was, he couldn't do it. We can repopulate the planet with trees right now. One unified consciousness can change everything. You could go to a river and stick a glass in it and drink it. Would you do it now? No, but we can do this together. But we have to come together as one.
Yes. Yes.
2 millennia later, we still can't do it. We're still in our diapers, spitting, slapping each other, throwing stones and rocks, and like.
That's right. We're still doing the same. But then again, that's because the powers above, or the powers above us, the ones who control the earth, what they're trying to do is divide us so we don't have power.
That's correct.
Power is unity. And
you're kept from your power, right? You're kept from your power. You're kept from knowing who you are. That's what I said. The Catholic Church doesn't care about who Jesus' siblings were. That's immaterial. What they are afraid of and protecting is what he was teaching and how you get there to do what he did. Oh, that is worth hiding, right? That's worth killing.
Because it's power.
That's power. That is the ultimate power. That's why nobody is allowed in those archives ever.
No. It's locked away.
I know what's down there. And most of what they couldn't find, they basically destroyed. The Gospel of Thomas, the Gnostic Gospels of late Mary Magdalene, of Jesus himself. Why is that not in the Bible? Oh, because that tells you who you are and how to get there, right? So how ironic is that? So, it's all meant to keep this species living in fear, fighting and bickering in the darkness. You're all looking into the dark glass of the ego. Hate, anger, rage, violence, right? All the ego. Right. And it's done on purpose.
Of course.
So
it's done by all the powers. It's done by religion. It's done by politics. It's done by everything. Right. They separate, divide, and you have power.
That's it.
That's how they keep us under control.
That's it. And we have the power. Could you imagine if we all stood up and said, you know what? For the next month, I'm not going to work. I'm not paying my taxes. I'm not doing anything. Okay, we'll take your house. Okay, well then every neighborhood's how you're going to take. Really? So do you understand the power that we hold?
Yeah.
That you can cripple the world within a month.
Yeah.
With everybody just stayed home.
If there's unity.
If there's unity, no violence, right? I'm going to go to the grocery store. Just go in the grocery store, right? Walk in, just take your stuff, walk out, right? Eventually the grocery stores are going to go empty. Nobody's working, right? Nah. Guess who holds the power now? But see, people live in fear. They're afraid. Oh, I'm going to lose all my money. I'm going to lose my house. They'll take my fear. It's all fear, but it's all irrational because it doesn't exist.
It's all here.
It's all in your mind. Your mind is at home. It's split. So when you can live the way I do and see how simple it is, there just is no fear. There is nothing to fear. I fear nothing because it's irrational. It doesn't exist.
That's fantastic. It's fantastic. We had a fantastic conversation. We've touched on so many different things, and I love the way you explained it and the way we've come to the same ideas because we believe in the same things, and it all comes down to unity, and it all comes down to the oneness of everything, of course, because that's what the conclusion I get every week is that one, the oneness, which takes away all judgment, takes away all the politics, takes away religion, takes away everything. So just the oneness is so important. So, well, thanks for coming on the program. It's been fantastic having you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for your time and for your effort and for your energy for doing this. And
absolutely.
But that's what we're here for, Jason. We're here to do this. We're here to get this out.
That's exactly it. It's the message. It's not who you think you are. it's much bigger than that. It's about this species. It's about my love for all of you, which is for myself, right? So I want you to awaken to the truth of who you are. I want you to be the best you can be. And that takes a lot of work. It takes time. It takes meditation. It takes your willingness to sit down and be quiet and distance yourself from the calamity and the noise of the world, right?
Yeah. And just for anyone who's listening who thinks, oh, Jason now thinks he's a maestro, a leader, or a master, it's no, no, no. Nobody's gonna cure you from what you're from. You are gonna do it. He's gonna show you how to do it. But
Right.
the one who has to do the work is you.
That's right.
There's no
I
master here. There's no one who's saying, "Oh, you have to listen to me. I'm going to be a leader." And no, 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 no. There's nothing to do with power, nothing to do with leaders or anything.
no.
It's just a teacher.
Right.
Like many of
I
the therapists that come on this program, many of the NDEs that come on this program write books and they go out and they speak about their NDEs and they try to teach, they try to show you how you can cure yourself, how you can do the work and feel this and get to that place where your happiness, what we're all seeking. So
right.
just so everyone understands what we're talking about here.
That's exactly it. I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make it drink.
There you go.
Right. And that's the whole thing with me teaching. I will click with some of your viewers. They will sit here and listen and go, holy cow, I've got to get more of this guy, right? Some people look at her, but I'm their mirror, right? They look at me, and what is being reflected back is their ugliness, right? They don't like it. They're not at that vibration yet. And
Right.
the others that I click with will come to me and ask those questions. How do and follow my channel and stuff like that. And that's okay. But I want you to all know that you're all beautiful. You're all perfect. You're all right where you need to be right at this very second that you watch this video. So don't be hard on yourself, but be willing to do the work. Be willing to go within and find out who you are, because to your father, this is immensely important. You need to figure out who you are now, okay? Because in that moment, you stop the incarnations because you learn to forgive. Forgiveness is everything, guys. It will shorten it will shorten your lives immensely when you know who you are, when you love unconditionally, and you learn to forgive unconditionally. Game's over.
Fantastic way to end the video. Fantastic. Well, thanks very much for being on the program. I hope we can speak again sometime, and I hope to have you back.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
That's been great. It's been great. Okay, Whispers, all the people who are watching us from home on YouTube, listen to this as many times as you want. You've got it there on the YouTube channel, and we'll see you next week with a new guest and a new NDE. So see you next week. So I wanna.